are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday. What day is it? Wednesday, May 8th. Sorry. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link, that is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. Sorry, I forgot what day it was. Lately you just kind of forget what days you're on right now. But the way my schedule has been. But, so Wednesday, May 8th. So with that being said, let's get into what we were going to talk about. Hope everybody's doing well. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about the schedule release date. So it seems like it's going to be next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network. They'll do the whole schedule release show. Now, I know they'll throw in some stuff before the actual show. They'll say, hey, look, here are these games that are going to be on Thanksgiving, or hey, this is going to be the first game of the season, or they'll throw some stuff at us before the full-on reveal. Now, they also, there's also leaks on social media too, but that's when we'll see the full reveal, is next Wednesday. So we'll get into that. Also, second part of the show, my guy finally got signed, who I've been talking about for weeks. Tyler Boyd, signed by the Tennessee Titans on a one-year deal. So he joins that receiving core with Calvin Ridley, who they also signed, as well as DeAndre Hopkins. So those are your top three wide receivers in that wide receiver room. So we'll get into that as well, second part of the show. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about the quarterbacks that are under the most pressure going into the 2024 season. So I'll give you my take on some of the quarterbacks that I believe are under the most pressure going into this season. And then in the final part of the show, we'll talk about the Bears, some things that Cole Kmet had to say on the offense, how the Bears have the tools around not Justin Fields, around Caleb Williams, and they're expecting big things out of him, and he's in a spot that he's going to be successful. And you would hope that he's successful. So that's the rundown for the show. So let's get back to what I was talking about a little bit, the schedule release date. So, yeah, it seems like next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, NFL Network, we'll get the full schedule reveal. And it's kind of like Christmas for football fans, where you see when your teams are playing each week, and you see what the primetime games are, what the afternoon slate is going to be like. The A teams for Fox, CBS, what they're going to get, the Monday night games, the Sunday night games, the Thursday night games on Amazon Prime. It's a great day. And once that comes out and we get the full schedule, I'm going to go through team schedules. But I mean, I'm excited. And when you see that, the schedule reveal date, that's when hey, we're starting to get closer to football. Now, we still got some time to go. But this is another big step towards getting back to it. And I know I talked about it a little bit last week on what the first game of the year is going to be, who the Chiefs are going to be playing. And I said my prediction was the Bengals, but it's going to come down to the Bengals, the Ravens, or the Texans. It's going to be one of those three teams. And then you know what you're getting on the Friday, the day after. You're getting Packers-Eagles. So you kind of have an idea of, what the first two games of the year are going to be like. But then after that, we'll see. And I did see an article about the strength of schedule for, each team. And the AFC North, like collectively, they have the hardest schedules. So I just want to pull up the strength of schedules because they did. There was an article that showed them. So the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers, top three hardest schedules going into 2024. So the Browns, their schedule, their opponent's winning percentage, 547. The Ravens, their opponent's winning percentage is 536. Steelers is 533. So and the Bengals are, since they finished in last place, the Bengals I can't even find the Bengals. Where are they? Oh, they're in the middle of the pack. They're tied for 16th. Their opponent's winning percentage is 502. So I can actually, lean in their favor because, they didn't finish they did finish over 500, but Joe Burrow was injured. So now Joe Burrow coming back and they got an easier schedule than their counterparts, that might give them a good chance to win the division. Which, again, I think it's going to be the Ravens and the Bengals as the top two. But then after those three AFC North teams, then you got the Texans and the Packers. Giants and the Bills are tied for 6th. The Giants always end up with the tough schedule. Their opponent's winning percentage is 516. So, but I mean, yeah, we know the opponents. We just don't know, when teams are going to be playing each other, like what weeks. But these are some of the top games going into next year. So you got the Chiefs and the 49ers. They're going to have a rematch at some point during the year. The Ravens and the Chiefs, the Lions and the 49ers. All the divisional games from last year, there will be a rematch at some point. You have the Ravens at the Chargers, so that's going to be the Harbaugh Bowl with Jim Harbaugh coming back to the NFL. The Falcons and the Vikings are playing each other. Falcons will be at the Vikings, Kirk Cousins' revenge game. The Raiders will be playing the Saints, so Derek Carr revenge game. Steelers at Broncos, a Russell Wilson revenge game. Broncos at Saints, Sean Payton coming back to New Orleans. Got the Rams and the Lions playing each other. They played each other in the playoffs in the wild card round. The Lions won that game. So Matthew Stafford will be making another return to the Lions. Got the Eagles and the Giants. Saquon Barkley making his return to MetLife Stadium at some point. The Bills and the Texans, so Stephon Diggs will be facing his former team. You got the Bears at the Commanders. The top two picks in the NFL draft facing off, so that should be fun. But yeah, those are some of the big games going into 2024. And then, like I said, we have an idea of who the Chiefs could be playing. It's going to come down to one of three opponents, unless it's someone I didn't say. And you got the Packers and the Eagles playing on Peacock. So, kind of have an idea of, again, the first couple of games. But after that, we'll have to see. And then, with the holidays coming around, you have the doubleheader on Christmas, and you got the tripleheader on Thanksgiving. I mean, the Lions and the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving, but what's that third game going to be, and who are their opponents going to be for the Lions and the Cowboys? Because last year they had the Packers and the Lions, and the Packers won. And then with the Cowboys, you have the Commanders. So maybe they have the Eagles. Maybe they pick the Eagles. Maybe they continue with the divisional matchups. Because the nightcapper was with Seahawks 49ers. So we'll have to see. But I'm really excited. Really excited about it. Like I said, we're gonna go through each schedule. We'll try to do that because now with the added segment, we could always just have the final segment just be a breakdown of a team's schedule and do very early predictions in May. That's kind of just an idea that I have, but yeah. So next week, and like I said, I mean with social media they leak the schedules for teams, so I mean you could see them on Twitter, and even leading up to that, the NFL will release some matchups and when they'll be played leading up to the big reveal. So, but we'll cover it. We'll make sure to cover it and who exactly the Chiefs are going to be playing to start the year. And again, really looking forward to it because this is that's when we're on our way to getting to football season, even though we're still ways away. And there's stuff going on in other sports that you want to pay attention to. And with me, I'm locked into baseball right now with the Yankees, so I want the summer to go slow. I don't want to rush the entire summer away. But when you hear that the schedule's coming out soon, I mean that gets you excited. That gets you excited. So looking forward to it, and we'll find out when teams are playing each other. But there's a lot of big matchups. You got rematches from the divisional round. Sorry, can't talk today. The Bills and the Chiefs will be playing. So, and then that's always fun when those two teams play against each other. I mean, there's going to be no Stephon Diggs in that matchup, but it's Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Still can't talk. I don't know what's going on with me today, but yeah. Well, Mahomes is in his own class, but Josh Allen, you still look at him as one of the best, and we'll see how he is without Diggs. And the Bills, they added to their receiving core through the draft, through free agency. So we'll see this new looking wide receiver core for the Bills next year. But yeah, so they'll be playing each other, and the matchup I'm really interested in, or one of them, is when the Texans and the Chiefs face each other. I want to see how C.J. Stroud does against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, how that matches up. Because maybe C.J. Stroud could be that quarterback that knocks off Mahomes in the playoffs. I think they have the team to do it, but for me, I still look at, like I've said all along, the Bengals as that team to knock off the Chiefs, if it's going to be anybody. So, but that, again, that's my opinion. And again, they showed more videos of Joe Burrow throwing the football around, and he looks good. I mean, but again, that's just in practice. Now we got to see how he is when we get to actual games. But if he's fully healthy, Bengals are gonna do really well this season. So, but it's encouraging that he's back to or at least close to 100%, because he's one of the best quarterbacks. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL as well. And him getting hurt was unfortunate last season. Because, I mean, if he doesn't get hurt, who knows what happens. Like, the Bengals would have definitely made the playoffs. And they definitely would have given teams problems. And maybe they could have knocked off the Chiefs themselves. But maybe they do that this year. So, I know I keep saying, it's a hypothetical, but but they've done it before. So, I mean, they could definitely do it again. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Schedule reveal, like I said, full schedule release date. It's going to be next Wednesday, 8 p.m. NFL Network. 8 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to tune in for it if you can. See who your teams are going to be playing on what week. I mean, we know what each team's opponents are, but we don't know when exactly teams are playing. I'm just hoping for my team that we don't have a lot of primetime games. Maybe we have one Thursday night game and one Monday night game, and that's it. Nothing else. I don't want to be put on primetime. Because the Giants last year on primetime, well, I shouldn't say it was, well, I mean, the first game of the year was really bad. But, they beat the Packers on Monday night. And, yeah, that's about it. Because they played the Bills. They lost to the Bills like 14-9, whatever it was. And then, they lost to the Cowboys. They lost to the 49ers on that Thursday night. Also, they lost to the Seahawks on the other Monday night game. Yeah, never mind. You know what? The Giants, they could just play, be part of the first slate of games that are played on Sunday for the whole year, and I'll be fine with that. So, but let me know what you guys think about the schedule, release date. Who do you think the Chiefs are going to be playing the first game of the season? What's a matchup you're most excited for going into the 2024 season? Let me know. So, when we come back from our first break of the show, we are going to talk about Tyler Boyd, my guy, finally signing with the team, signing with the Tennessee Titans on a one-year deal. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about the Titans when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about Tyler Boyd, the wide receiver, signing with the Tennessee Titans. So, has spent his entire career with the Cincinnati Bengals, was a free agent, and didn't seem like the Bengals were going to bring him back. And I kept talking about him for weeks, about what team should sign him and where he should go. But it ended up being the Tennessee Titans, which kind of makes sense because Brian Callahan, who used to be with the Bengals, is now with the Titans. So I understand. Now I get that connection. Because at first I was like, the Titans. But that does make sense. So he signed with the Tennessee Titans. It was a one-year deal worth up to $4.5 million. And these are his career stats from 2016 to 2023. 513 catches on 753 targets for 6,000 receiving yards and 31 touchdowns in an 8-year run with the Bengals. So actually I wanted to pull up the graphic I have of that, and that is courtesy of footballreference.com. So these are his stats, to actually see him. And, he's been a receiver that has relatively stayed healthy. 2017, he only played in 10 games. But other than that, he really hasn't missed a lot of time. His two best seasons were 2018 and 2019. Had over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns in 2018, 5 touchdowns in 2019. But then you see the receiving yards, start to go down because they drafted T. Higgins, and then they drafted Jamar Chase. But even with that, I mean, in 2021, he still posted, over 800 yards, had 5 touchdowns in 2021. That was Jamar Chase's rookie year. I mean, he's still, he was a good number 3 wide receiver for the Bengals. And he could be a number 2 on other teams. And I think the Titans are getting a solid receiver. I think he's going to be 30. But I think when you look at the Titans now and their receiving core, you got Calvin Ridley, who they signed to a big contract. You got DeAndre Hopkins as well. I mean, I like that trio of wide receivers. Now, I'm not going to say it's one of the best trios in the NFL. I think if you go back to 2018, 2019, yeah, that would be one of the best trios in the NFL. But, those guys are getting older. Ridley still had a good year. Hopkins was okay last year. But they are really banking on Wil Levis to take a big jump in year 2. They have surrounded him with talent, both at the wide receiver position and at running back. They brought in Tony Pollard, and you're hoping that Tony Pollard bounces back, has a better 2024. I'm not saying he was bad in 2023, but but he wasn't as good as the previous season. And you're hoping a year removed from his injury that he could be back to what he was before the injury. And if that's the case, that's good for Wil Levis. You can take the pressure off of him with a good running game. But yeah, I mean, the trio of wide receivers of Ridley, Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd, I mean, you got to like it. I think that's a good trio of receivers to have. And like I said, the Titans are giving Wil Levis the tools to be successful. So he's got to go out there and do it. And I just realized I didn't change the segment title on the bottom. But yeah, I mean, they're giving him weapons to be successful. So he's just got to go out there and prove it. He showed flashes. He had a good debut, but after that, yeah, it was kind of hit or miss. So now you add, 2 veteran wide receivers in Ridley and now in Tyler Boyd to go along with Hopkins. You had Tony Pollard. Yeah, I mean, let's see what Wil Levis can do. The problem is, you look at the division, and it's going to be tough because you got the Texans there, you got the Colts who are going to be good, the Jags. I mean, I still look at the Titans as I'd rank them 4th in the division right now. Now, that's just my opinion. I mean, that doesn't mean that that's going to end up happening, but that's how I look at it. Because we got to see we got to see what Anthony Richardson can do too, because he didn't play that much. But even with him getting hurt, the Colts, they were a couple plays away from making the playoffs instead of the Texans. Because they just lost to the Texans in, the final game of the regular season. T.J. Goodson doesn't drop that pass by Gardner Minshew. I mean, who knows what happens? So, I still like the Colts. The Jags, the free fall last season, the collapse, yeah, that was concerning. But with Trevor Lawrence, I think they should be able to bounce back. But right now, I like the Texans as the favorites. But the Titans, they could be a part of that conversation. If Wil Levis can take a massive jump in year 2, then the Titans are in good shape. But if not, that's a problem. And in my next segment, Wil Levis may be a part of that segment on quarterbacks that are facing most pressure in 2024. Because look, the Titans, they have invested a lot in this offense. They really did surround. Now again, like this trio of wide receivers, you're not going to rank them. I mean, I don't think I'd put them in my top 5 when it comes to trios, because I know I did a segment on trios of wide receivers. But I think it's a good enough trio that can get the job done. So, now it's up to Wil Levis. Because like I said, had an impressive debut. Had the 4 touchdowns? He had 3 to DeAndre Hopkins. But, and then after that, it was kind of hit or miss. I mean, they did have that comeback victory against the Dolphins late in the year. But, they got blown out by Jacksonville. They lost a close game to the Steelers. Yeah, Wil Levis has to prove people wrong now. Show that you're the guy. And they brought in an offensive-minded head coach. And, like I've been saying, they brought in weapons for him to be successful. And Tyler Boyd adds to that. He's been a productive wide receiver throughout his career, as you can see here. So, you add him with Ridley, who's now, now this is his second full year after really, missing basically 2 years. And, looked good at times, but, you want him to be more consistent. And you still got DeAndre Hopkins. So, I mean, I like their trio of wide receivers. So it's really up to the quarterback. So, but again, when I look at this division, for me, there's still kind of that 4th place team. Because again, I like what the Colts did last year. And, Jacksonville, I expect them to bounce back. And then you got the Texans, who are the class of the AFC South. I look at them as the favorites. So this division is going to be, I think this division is going to be very competitive as well. Now, I don't think it's not like the AFC North. The AFC North is the best division in football. But, this division in its own right can be competitive. And at one point, this division was kind of a laughing stock. I think I said that recently. But now, they got young quarterbacks across the board. And, with C.J. Stroud, I expect him to be even better in year 2. Trevor Lawrence, I know last year was kind of a step back, but I expect him to, rebound. Then it's Anthony Richardson and Wil Levis. Because Anthony Richardson is going to have to go out there and prove it for a full season. Like I said, I like the Colts right now just because, they got close to making the playoffs last year. And, this was with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. But he's going to have to go out there and prove that he's the guy for a full season. And especially Wil Levis, too. So, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited when these teams play against each other. So, but yeah, I mean like I said, it's up to Wil Levis now, because like I said, the Titans, they really invested in this offense. But also another thing too is just they really went back on. They really regret what they did a couple years ago, trading A.J. Brown, because now they signed Hopkins last year. Then you signed Ridley and Tyler Boyd. I mean, I guess because the other thing, too, is they kind of figured that because, they still got some young wide receivers on their team, below these guys because, I mean, these are going to be the top 3 on the depth chart, you would imagine. But I think they really expected Treylon Burks to be A.J. Brown's replacement. And that just has not panned out. So that's why now they went out and they signed these veterans, because they're just like, Treylon Burks really hasn't developed into that receiver that they've hoped for. But Mike Vrabel wasn't happy when they traded A.J. Brown. And when they played them in 2022, A.J. Brown torched them. And now A.J. Brown went to a Super Bowl, and they did lose, but played well in that Super Bowl. He at least scored a touchdown in that Super Bowl. I don't remember his exact stat line, but he did have a touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean, they're trying to rewrite the wrong there and, better this receiving core by signing veterans. And, these veterans can still produce, but, they're not in their primes like A.J. Brown is. And A.J. Brown is, I think, 25, 26 years old. These guys are all around 30 or already 30. So, again, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think about the Tyler Boyd signing. I think it was a good signing. Again, 1 year, $4.5 million. I mean, that's, I think that's a good deal for the Titans. And again, that just adds another veteran receiver to their wide receiver room. And, hopefully that helps Wil Levis take a big jump in year 2. So before I go to break, just want to remind you guys once again. So I'm just going to get the graphic back up here. So yeah, reminding you guys again, tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show. Makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we are going to talk about the quarterbacks that are going to be facing the most pressure in 2024, and Wil Levis might be a part of that conversation. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about some NFL quarterbacks that are going to be under some pressure in 2024, or facing the most pressure in 2024. So there's some that I have. The first one I'll get into, just to get him out of the way, is the quarterback of my team, and that is the New York Giants, and that's Daniel Jones. He's definitely facing some pressure. He's dealt with some injuries over the course of his career, and coming off of a playoff win a couple years ago, the Giants paid him, and last year, I mean, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And he ended up getting hurt, with the neck injury, not as severe as the one back in 2021, but he had another neck injury, and then he unfortunately tore his ACL and missed the rest of the year, and this happened against the Raiders late in the season. So you had Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito starting. But, yeah, now, the Giants, you heard about them trying to trade up to draft Drake May, and that didn't pan out, so they drafted Malik Neighbors instead, the wide receiver out of LSU. And, they brought in Drew Lock because now Tyrod Taylor's with the Jets. So you have him, you have Tommy DeVito. That's your quarterback room, is those two guys and Daniel Jones. And this is kind of it for Daniel Jones. This is his last shot. And, well, at least with the Giants, this is his last shot. But if he ends up not playing well, then, him and the Giants are going to part ways. And, there was some speculation on could he be traded during the draft. So, yeah, he's facing some pressure because now if he doesn't play well, I mean, the Giants, they could go and say, hey, well, Drew Lock could be the starter. Now, again, I don't think Drew Lock is going to be this massive upgrade over Daniel Jones. But, I mean, They might have to make a change if Daniel Jones does not play well. Of course, if he does start the year, which I think it seems like it's trending that way. But yeah, I mean, this is it for Daniel Jones with the Giants. And if it doesn't pan out, if he doesn't play well, then he's going to end up going elsewhere. And, the Giants, they gave him a receiver in Malik Neighbors, like I said. They addressed the offensive line in the offseason. So, let's see what Daniel Jones could do now with getting some protection. And now you have the number one wide receiver of the future. Losing Saquon Barkley is tough. And, Saquon Barkley has really helped Daniel Jones' career. And now he's not there. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, that's one quarterback that is facing pressure going into 2024. Another quarterback, who I talked about in the previous segment, is Wil Levis. I think he's facing some pressure because the Bengals, they got a couple of former Bengals, the head coach and Tyler Boyd now. But with the Titans, they got an offensive-minded head coach. They have surrounded him with talent. They also drafted an offensive lineman as well. I forgot to mention that too. But yeah, you drafted an offensive lineman. You signed a couple of veteran wide receivers in Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. You signed Tony Pollard this offseason as well. They have surrounded Wil Levis with weapons. And he's got to go out there and play well. Because, if he doesn't play well, the Titans might, say, all right, well, we got to go in a different direction then. They might pull the plug. And, it's only year 2, but, we've seen in the past teams pull the plug on guys, even after 1 year. I mean, look at what the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen, and they drafted Kyler Murray. So, Wil Levis, he's, got to go out there and prove it that you're the guy. And like I said, they gave him the tools to be successful. Now he's just going to go out there and execute. So that's another quarterback that faces pressure. Go to another quarterback in the NFC East. And I was going to say Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, I think, is facing pressure in 2024. Jalen Hurts, he made it to a Super Bowl. So I was thinking of Jalen Hurts just because of, the Eagles collapsing towards the end of the year. But I think Dak Prescott faces more pressure. Because this is a guy that has not made it past the divisional round. Jalen Hurts made it to a Super Bowl. Now, you could say, well, he had a top offensive line, and, we could go back and forth on that. But Jalen Hurts did make it to a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott hasn't made it out of the second round. And Stephen Jones made some comments saying that he believes Dak could win a championship. Well, you got to make it to a championship game before you talk about championships. They have not made it past the second round. Now I've said this. Dak Prescott has become a better quarterback since he first entered the league. But again, where has that really gotten them? And, this is a big year for Dak. This is, this could be it with him and the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, they say, well, we want to, they want to keep him and all that. But who knows? He could end up going elsewhere and getting paid. And I think he is facing pressure because, well, I think also playing for the Dallas Cowboys, you're always going to be facing pressure. But, this is, you got, your first start was in 2016. We're going into 2024 now. And like I said, all you've done is get to the second round. And, the Cowboys, they added through the draft, but I mean, you look at the NFC as a whole. I mean, I don't think they made significant upgrades where you're going to put them, you're going to say that they can knock off some of these better teams like the Lions, like the 49ers, the Packers. I mean, look at what the Packers did. Packers got better. So, I think Dak is going to have a good season. But I don't think it's going to be – it's going to be more of the same. They got to prove something to me that they could, go further. And I don't think they are. And you could say, well, that's coming from a Giant fan. I understand that, but Giant fans aren't the only ones that believe this. This is fans across the league. So I think Dak's facing some pressure. Because, again, it's a contract year. And, you know, you're not a rookie anymore. We're now well into your career, and you haven't made it past the second round. So you put up good numbers in the regular season, but you can't get it done in the postseason. So, and I think even if the Cowboys don't give him a new deal, I think he's going to find one elsewhere. A team's going to give him money. But, you know, the Cowboys, show me something. You know, because they have failed to do that. And, you know, it's time. But I don't think it's going to happen. Some other quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, I think, is another quarterback you could look at that's facing pressure. I mean, you know, didn't really work out in Denver. You know, you get another shot here with the Steelers, and I think Russ will do okay. I expect the Steelers to maybe win 9-10 games, maybe squeak into the playoffs. But, yeah, I mean, Russ has been trending down the last couple of years, and I don't think we're going to see the same Russell Wilson that we saw in Seattle. You're going to see the Russell Wilson we saw in Denver. But, you know, the Steelers, they addressed the offensive line. They drafted Roman Wilson from Michigan to be that replacement to Deontay Johnson. You got George Pickens there, Pat Freiermuth, a good running game, a good defense. I mean, I think with Mike Tomlin, I think the Steelers is a good spot for Russ. I think he could do okay. But, again, he's got to go out there and show that he's still got it. Because, you know, if it doesn't work out in Pittsburgh, well, I don't know who else is going to give you a shot. You might end up being just a backup quarterback at this point. So that's another quarterback. I would say Tua is another quarterback that, you know, is facing some pressure here. You know, the Dolphins are going to be looking to pay him, and they got weapons all over the place. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They added Odell Beckham Jr. Look at their running game with Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, and they drafted a running back as well. You know, they got playmakers all over the place. And that playoff game against the Chiefs, it was a tough atmosphere to play in with the weather. I mean, I don't think anybody should be playing in that kind of weather. But that's just what ended up happening. So, you know, the odds were stacked against them before kickoff. But, you know, I mean, put up good numbers in the regular season, but yeah, I still, you know, he might not be the long-term answer, but they might pay him. So I think he's another guy that's facing pressure because, you know, and they also, you know, let the division slip away to the Bills. They lost to the Bills the last game of the regular season. So, you know, they kind of want to rebound from that and, you know, win this division. And it's going to be tougher because the Jets, I think, are going to be better. But, yeah, I think Tua's another guy that's facing pressure. I look at Deshaun Watson, the guy I talked about yesterday. He's facing pressure because, you know, the Browns, they invested a lot of money in him, trading for him. And that trade looks very lopsided right now. And the Browns are a good team, but one of the, well, really the major piece that they're missing is quarterback play. And, you know, you give Joe Flacco credit for coming in and playing really well for them and making the playoffs, but Deshaun Watson is who they invested in. And right now he hasn't really lived up to it. So I think he's going to have to, you know, go out there and play really well, and they're expecting him to. But I don't know. Deshaun Watson hasn't really played well since he's gotten to Cleveland, but also because he's missed time and has been hurt. So, but we'll see how he is in 2024. But he's another quarterback that I'd put in that discussion. I'm going to say Kirk Cousins is experiencing some pressure too, because he went to Atlanta because, you know, the Vikings, they were going to draft their quarterback of the future, and then the Falcons went and did the same thing. So what if Kirk Cousins doesn't play well? Then maybe they go with Michael Penix. But the other thing too is, I mean, I say that, but also Kirk Cousins got paid that massive contract, so even if he doesn't play well, it's like, you still get your money. But, now you got that future QB sitting behind you. There might be. I don't think he feels it, but I'm saying I think there's some pressure there to play well because that's your replacement. So, you got to go out there and play well. I'll actually say that Caleb Williams is going to experience some pressure too. And the reason for that is you look at and we're going to talk about him in the next segment, but you look at what the Bears did. Same thing with Wil Levis, although I think the Bears supporting cast is better than the Titans. But they went out and they traded for Keenan Allen. They drafted Rome Odunze. You got Cole Kmet, signed DeAndre Swift. D.J.Moore is already there. There's a lot around Caleb Williams. And they're expecting big things out of him. For me, I think the Bears could be a playoff team. Wild card team, but I think they could fight for a wild card spot there. You're stepping into a very good situation in terms of your playmakers, and you're the number 1 overall pick. So there's going to be pressure with that as well. But if you go out there and you don't play well, now I mean, it could be one of those things where he struggles early, gets better late. But if he goes out there and has a horrific rookie season like Bryce Young had, which I don't think he is. That's the Bears fans are not going to be happy. So, but that's just my opinion. I think there's some pressure there with Caleb Williams just because of what the Bears invested in, what they've done this offseason. I mean, they have surrounded Wil Levis, Caleb Williams with a ton of talent. So he's got to go out there and prove it. So I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that I failed to mention. I think that was pretty much all of the. I think that's pretty. Oh, Geno Smith. Geno Smith's another one too. They traded for Sam Howell now, the Seahawks. So I think they're going to battle it out for the starting job, and this could be Geno's. I mean, I don't think Geno played bad last year, but didn't play as well as the previous season. And I think even if Geno's not a starter, I mean, I think he's a solid backup. But that's another quarterback as well. But I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anyone else I was going to... Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know what you guys think. What quarterback do you think is facing the most pressure going into 2024? Because we did go through a decent amount. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we're going to talk about Caleb Williams and the Bears. A couple things that some of their playmakers had to say regarding the offense. And that will pretty much do it for the show. So... for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about the Bears, the offseason they've had, which I've talked about a decent amount. But really a couple things that some of their playmakers had to say on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams. So from Cole Kmet and D.J.Moore, who I just talked about in the last segment along with Caleb Williams. So this is what Cole Kmet had to say about this upcoming season. So he said, it's exciting. We've got a lot of young, talented players, and I think for the first time in a long time, I don't even know if it's ever happened. We have an infrastructure in place for a high-end, talented rookie quarterback to come in. Obviously, Caleb is highly touted. He's been that way for a long time now. He gets to go in a situation with a lot of veteran quality, good players, and also a really good defense. And then DJ Moore, he said, some more excitement out of it. We've got people on the field that you can't just double team or somebody else is going to be open, making it a game for themselves like the Thursday night game I had against the Commanders. Any one of us could go off and have a game like that if you put man-to-man on us. And he also said, DJ Moore also said, just making the playoffs, just showing the growth that we've had over the past year, making the playoffs, earning 10 wins, having 1,000 yards could come second. So, yeah, that's just some of the stuff that they had to say. So they're really expecting this offense to do well in 2024. And I'm expecting the same thing. It's just, but, there's other factors, the coaching as well. Because, you could have a lot of talent, but if you don't have the coaching, then, that could also be a problem. But I think the Bears should be a good offense. Now, I know I saw on social media some people were saying that, they're not expecting Caleb Williams to go out there and, have 50 touchdowns his rookie season. And, I don't think we're going to get 50 touchdowns from him, but I think he should have a good year, and he should be Offensive Rookie of the Year. That should be his. Because, again, the Bears, they invested a lot in it. I talk about Wil Levis. Caleb Williams, same thing. Now, I said in the previous break, I think, the Bears, their trio of wide receivers, their playmakers are better than what the Titans have, in my opinion. But, I mean, there's no reason why the Bears can't go out there and win 10 games. And that's what D.J.Moore said. I think 10 games is reasonable. And we'll go through the Bears' schedule. Like I said, we're going to try to go through every team's schedule. Actually, let's look at the Bears' opponents for next year. We'll take a look at their opponents. So this is the Bears' schedule for next year. Now, again, don't have the specific times and weeks that they're playing certain teams, but this is what we got. So at home, they got the 6 divisional games. They got the Lions twice, the Packers twice, and the Vikings. Then they got the Rams at home, the Seahawks at home, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Panthers, and the Patriots. So, I mean, I look at the Patriots and the Panthers. I think those are 2 wins right there. I think they'll get some divisional games. So, I think they'll win at least 4 of their home games. So they'll split even there. But actually, well, how many home games do they have? They got 9 home games. Okay, so they got the extra home game with the now with the extra week. So yeah, so they got 9 home games. Then away they got the 3 divisional games. The Cardinals, I think that could be a win. 49ers is going to be tough. Texans is going to be... Oh, I'm looking forward to that matchup. Caleb Williams against C.J. Stroud, those 2 offenses. The Colts and then the Commanders. So, I'm going to say they could get 10 wins. I think that's their ceiling. 10 wins this year. Because, again, Caleb Williams is a rookie quarterback, and, I'm not going to be like, oh, they're going to win 13. Well, I don't think they're going to win 13 games, but... Yeah, so, I guess like I said, I think they'll win at least 3 divisional games. I think they'll go 3-3. I think you got the 5. I think they'll beat the Panthers and the Patriots. So that's 5 wins right there. The Commanders, I think I'd give them a win there. So that's 6. Cardinals 7. Titans, I'll give them an 8. I'll give them 8. And then 1 more. I guess like the Seahawks, maybe they beat. I don't know. So that's 9. 9-10 wins, I say they finish around. I don't know. Again, that's just, that's just me going through the schedule right now. But I don't know when and where. Well, we know where. We just don't know when these games are going to be played. But, yeah, I think 9-10 wins they get to. Because I don't want to be like, well, I think with this offense and, they're going to win 12, 13 games. No. But I think they could get to at least 10. But, you got the Packers and the Lions. And they did split with the Lions last year, and they almost won both games. They should have won both games. The first game in Detroit, the Lions came back. The second game, the Bears really played well. The Lions had a tough time when they played in Chicago. So, and then the Packers swept them. I expect the Packers to... Well, listen, I was going to say I expect the Packers to continue their dominance, but you don't know. But I'm looking forward to when those 2 teams play. I'm just looking forward to all the matchups. Between the NFC North teams. Because all those teams are good. They all got good rosters. Now, two of them have rookie quarterbacks. So, it might be a little bit of a struggle, but I like the rosters for these teams. So, and I expect the Bears to be a good team, to be a team that can compete for a playoff spot. There's rookie quarterbacks that have made the playoffs. Go back to 2012. Russell Wilson, RG3, Andrew Luck, they all made the playoffs. Caleb Williams could do the same thing. If he really is who the Bears believe that he is, and his talent translates to the NFL, then yeah, the Bears, they should be a competitive team and could get to the 10 wins that I said. You got a 1A and a 1B with Keenan Allen and D.J.Moore. You drafted a number 1 wide receiver from where he went to school in Roma Dunze. Got a good tight end in Cole Kmet. The defense played better last season, so the Bears should be good. And they finished last year. I know they lost to the Packers. That was a bad. That was they didn't really play well in that game. They lost 17-9, but they played better down the stretch. And if they can carry that over into next season, if the defense plays well, and the offense is clicking, they got the talent. But again, you got to go out there and prove it. That's really what it comes down to. Got to go out there and prove it. And I think they will. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. I think 9-10 wins is reasonable. But I could be wrong. Because you look at the NFC, it's not as loaded as the AFC. So I think they have. They got an easier path to make the playoffs as opposed to, I think, some of the teams in the AFC. Trying to make the wild card. But again, only time will tell. Listen, we could see. Maybe we see every team from the NFC North making the playoffs. Because if you look at the landscape of the NFC, so I think at least 2 teams from the North are going to make it. So then that leaves 2 remaining wildcard spots. So right now, then you also got the Eagles and the Cowboys. So really you only got 1 wildcard spot. So the Bears are going to be battling it out with, maybe a team from the South. Both teams from the South. The Buccaneers, the Saints, and the Falcons are going to be dealing with 2 of those 3 teams. You're going to be dealing with the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Rams. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because I like the Bears over the Giants, the Commanders, the Cardinals, and the Panthers. But, but then it's those other teams that I just said. So, it's still going to be a logjam, but again, I think it's easier than the AFC. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. So we'll have to see. It's going to be exciting. It's definitely going to be exciting. And some matchups that they have, I'm looking forward to. Like I said, this offense against the Texans offense, that's, 2 teams that had good off seasons. Looking forward to that. We'll see them play Jaden Daniels, number 2 overall pick. So that should be fun. Well, we'll see how the matchup it actually is, but just the fact that they're, the first 2 picks. We'll see it. We'll see how it goes. But again, we'll find out next week when each matchup will be. Like I said, next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, NFL Network. So make sure to tune in for that. And that is pretty much it for the show. Let me know what you guys think about what we just talked about with the Bears. where do you see them finishing in 2024? But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Again, we are at the midway point. Later this week, maybe having a couple of guests on the show, a couple of hosts from other shows on the GSMC Sports Network. And you'll actually be seeing that across the board. Hosts will be going on other shows, so seems like it might be my show that I'll be getting a couple of people on, which will be nice. So that's going to be Friday, so make sure to tune in for that. And like I said, next week we'll be going to 5 segments instead of 4. It'll still be an hour show, just an added segment on top of the 4 that we already do. The segments will just be cut down a little bit shorter, to around 12 minutes each. So we got that. But yeah, I mean, that's what's coming up. Again, make sure to tune into the other shows here on the GSMC Sports Network. Still got some new shows coming. So you'll be seeing some new faces, or you've already have seen new faces. And check out all the other shows. With the NBA playoffs and baseball, and I mean, I say this all the time. I've been saying this a lot lately since, wrapping up the show, when I'm wrapping up the show. But yeah, check out the other shows. Give the other shows some love, like I always say. And yeah, so with that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't that